Good afternoon. It's Friday the 13th. Yes, Friday the 13th, November 2020. And of all things to be occurring in this year of 2020 with COVID and crazy elections, civil unrest, all the craziness that's been going on, it would be a Friday the 13th in November. Glenn Stein here, Realty Executives in the Villages, talking to you about what's happening in the Villages real estate market, talking to you about the trends, talking to you about what's the latest, and we're going to cover this. So we've got a little bit of screen sharing here. We're going to be looking at some things here that are happening for the last 7 days. For instance, 47 new properties came on the market in MLS in the Villages. We've seen that. That's pretty much in line with what we've seen over the last several weeks, the mid 40 range, 47 new properties hitting the market. 3 price increases, 55 price decreases. That's a little bit above, probably about 10 to 15% above normal, meaning that we're seeing a lot of properties come on the market and they're starting off a little bit too high, and people are adjusting as they go. They're trying to test the market, but we're seeing that the market has, I wouldn't say it's shifted tremendously, but definitely a little bit of a shift towards the buyer side. Right, we're seeing a little bit over 2 months supply of homes on the marketplace right now, which is still a pretty warm marketplace. Actually, it's still a hot marketplace, considering anything under 6 months supply of homes is considered to be a really warm marketplace. And the closer you get to zero, obviously, you're talking about a hot marketplace. Sold properties, 42 have closed in the last 7 days, and which is pretty good for the middle of the month. That's a pretty solid number. And we've seen 42 properties that went under contract, and that's pretty normal. That's pretty much what we've seen. Now, remember, about 5-6 weeks ago, I was talking about the effects of the election. Donald Trump and Joe Biden election obviously was definitely different, different than most elections, probably every election we've ever seen in our lifetime here in the U.S. But what we do know is that what happens in the marketplace typically in November in a non-election year, looking at a 7 to 8% difference between October to November in non-election years. In election years, it's about a 13.5% decrease from October to November, meaning Novembers are typically slower, holidays, and there's a little bit of a shift in the marketplace, a different type of buyer pretty much everywhere in Florida. But typically what happens is people want to be home for the holidays, so they usually then start buying, and they usually start coming over during our really hot season, which is our coldest months up north, but a very pleasant time. In fact, right now, blue skies after the tropical storm blew over us, and not much damage here, by the way, with Tropical Storm Eta. But beautiful weather right now, nice temperatures. Really, it's a perfect time to be here in Florida for sure, all the way through March and April. So we're starting to see a little bit of an influx of people moving in our direction. But typically November is a slower traffic month, and presidential years, election years, it's usually even slower. And then, in my opinion, with all that's going on, with all the craziness that's gone on in 2020, definitely I think we're set up to have an even slower month this November. However, in looking at this, looks like it's been pretty stable. Actually, we have a lot to look forward to, because if this is our slow month, this has been pretty brisk. Most of our realtors here have been pretty busy. And if this is the case, what we do know about presidential years, if November is typically slow, you find that the year after the election year, in that first quarter, things go bananas, because people are catching up. So the market does catch up during that time period. So that being the case, things are pretty decent, pretty good marketplace right now. We're looking at some pent-up demand and some catching up in first quarter of 2021. That's going to bode really well for our real estate market, and I think that's exactly what we're seeing. We're really seeing some indications that 2021 is going to be an absolutely strong year. What I wanted to do actually this time is I wanted to dive deeper into the properties that are coming on the market. The lowest property that is coming on the market, $180,000 property, all the way, most of the properties are in that 200 to 300,000 range. And then we're seeing all the way to, over over a million, right to 1,095,000. But if you look at this, 5 properties over 600,000 came on the market in the last 7 days, and then you got a handful of properties in that 315 to all the way to 569,000. Give you an idea of the values of what's coming on the marketplace, right? I think that's important to look at that and kind of figure out, okay, this is what's really going on, okay, in the market right now. So let's take a look at kind of want to backtrack a little bit and look at some of the what's really going on when we're looking at the sold properties. Okay, what closed? So I'm going to click on that. I know it's a little bit small for you. That's why I'm kind of interpreting what I'm seeing here. So the sold properties, just to give you an idea of what the price ranges are. Out of the sold, we're looking at looks like 25 of the properties range from 115 to 317,000. 115 is on over in the historic section on the east side of 441 in the Villages, and then you've got some properties that are in Marion County. I'm seeing about 5 or 6 properties here that are in Marion County, and then after that, you're looking at about 15, how many properties? 15, 16 properties that are between 347 to 693,000. So most of the fish are swimming in this 200 and probably 200 to $300,000 range. That's mostly where the houses sell and are active, but there's a healthy amount of homes that are selling between that $300 to $700,000 range too. That's 16 of them. So you're looking at about a third of the properties that are in that price range. So that's not insignificant by any stretch of the imagination. Okay. So now let's look at the pending properties. Let's see what kind of trends we're seeing here with the pending properties and active days on market. We'll take a look at that as well. So, you're looking at, once again, the trends are the same, 165 all the way to 319. The first 25 properties in that batch went under contract, meaning, and you got a handful of, villas here. That's what that top part is. Probably about half of those are villas. And then the rest of them are, different types of homes, different types of models. And then we have once again, looking at about 17 properties that went under contract from 319, 320, all the way to 600,000. So there's a pretty significant amount of homes when you're looking at this. Probably a good 35 to 40% of the homes are selling above 300,000, and that's still very affordable. But we have seen some price increases over the years, right? We've been in this marketplace since 2004. Started off in the Villages in 2004. Realty Executives has, and we've sold the most amount of homes here, so we have a good bead on what happens in the marketplace. Looking at days on market, a lot of these homes you're looking at anywhere between 2. We've seen 3 properties that went under contract after being on the market for 2 days, then 5, 11, 13, 15, and it goes up from there. Probably looking at an average of right around, if you took all of them into consideration, probably around 60. Even a property here that went under contract, actually being almost on the market for a year, 290 days, right? So get all kinds of activity. A lot of these homes are also 90 to 150 days on the market. I think you're going to see the average is probably about 60 to 90 days. And that's gone up, right? Like, I think that's something to really look at. We've seen a lot of homes probably early part of this year, probably pre-COVID, pre-election, pre-Joe Biden and Donald Trump, and all the things that we've seen in 2020. Most of the homes would sell, if it was north of 466, typically they would sell in about a 60 to 90 day time period, or probably about 65 days. South of 466 all the way down to, south of 44, Finney, Bradford, Southern Oaks area, you would see, 30 to 60 days, probably closer 35, 40 days. That was the norm. Now you could just add about 30 days to all of that. So now, north of 466, seeing, 60 to 90 days, closer to 90, and about 3 month time period, and everything south, 30 to 60, closer to 60 on the average, right? You're going to get some outliers here where you're seeing some homes that are selling, in 2 days. Like we saw, there's 3 homes that sold, went under contract in 2 days. And I think the reason why it takes longer is, look, it's about price, right? It's almost always about price. Every home has a market and a price, and I understand why people want to price it a little bit higher because they don't want to leave any money on the table, and that's okay. I think something to really consider is figuring out what the real value of the home is. Get to that price earlier, not to sell it faster or give it away and lose any equity, but I think the real purpose is that the most serious people and typically the best buyers are the buyers that see a home when there's only a few days on the market and they feel like, oh, this is something new and I want to buy this before the competition, meaning another buyer. So typically your first buyer is the best buyer for that reason. But if you have questions about the marketplace, your questions about what's going to happen in 2021, questions about impact of COVID-19 or Donald Trump or Joe Biden or presidential election and interest rates and all that type of stuff, you can find me at buysellthevillages.com is our website. As you can see, you can call me at 352-572-3796, 352-572-3796. Glenn Stein, broker owner, Realty Executives in the Villages. All right, take care. Have a great weekend.